Fence out there took quite a bit of battering as cars galore started raining blows in on the fence. Yes, we're back at Overton where we had such a marvellous meeting last time with cars losing wheels, engines, everything happened. And indeed it looks like we're going to have a very good meeting here today because it's a joint promotion here at Sheffield this afternoon, replacing the advertised Rochdale meeting which should have been run this weekend. Indeed, racing takes place here at Sheffield due to off-track problems, and it's a joint BriSCA promotion for the BriSCA Yorkshire Cup. Full top-class field here at Overton for some excellent Formula 1 stock car racing. I think we better get that fence fixed though. It needs a bit of extra protection if last time is anything to go by. And while on the subject of last time out here at Overton, it was Peter Faulding in 33 that won the grand final, but he had low placings in his heat, had to go through the Consolation where he only scored 4 and indeed failed to finish the Grand National. So after some good performances elsewhere, despite that final win last time, he'll be out for an improved performance here at Overton today. Still in blue until the 1st of May. Cars lining up down the home straight here on this 390-yard shale oval here at Overton, shared with the Sheffield Tigers Speedway team. And of course, with a rugby league side now, the Sheffield Eagles being based on the infield, it's very, very restricted in runoff area now here at Sheffield. Indeed, there is a tape around the inside of the track. You can just see it shimmering in the breeze, the red and white tape. They can't go inside that, so it's very concentrated stuff. If a car spins out, he hasn't got much room to get out of the way. You can see the rugby league pitch in the middle. Real multi-sport stadium here at Overton. Now also, of course, greyhound racing. And a healthy crowd here as the yellow flag goes up to show that the cars are off on their lap, their rolling lap before the start of the race. Cars setting off then, the whites going past on camera there, 366. He was successful last time. John Howell from Chesterfield. He had a win in one of the Consolation races, yes, the second Consolation race last time in the March meeting here at Overton. Red Top's coming past, Willie Harrison on the right, number 2, good to see him back in racing. 36, Rod Faulding, father of Peter. John Toulson, minus spoiler, in 286, 422, Nigel Wharton. And 156, Graham Blundell. We've got one novice at the back of the field, the white top with the cross, and also Frankie Wainman just up with him in 212. No novice certainly with the National Points Championship displayed by the roof being painted silver. Yes, that novice driver at the back is John Paget rather, in 449. So there are the front two. Got 963, must surely be 463, in which case it would be Phil Wright, and 418 on the inside, or 118, can't quite see, with the nose of the inside car just blocking it off. Cars then easing the way around on the rolling lap. We've got 6 white tops, 4 yellows, including Ian Higgins. Labels himself Captain Chaos. Interesting here. The starter drops the green and the race is underway. And it's 118 spun out straight away on the home straight. And we've lost an axle already. Well, last time Pete Lancaster's car lost both axles during the meeting, but there is the mayhem even before the drivers across the start line. 118 and 366 piling up. John Howell, and 118 is Fred Miller from Bolton in Lancashire. A ghostbuster, but certainly a car buster as well there in that mayhem. Brian Tuplin spinning out, just being edged out by Rob Lane. As Mike Shirley goes through, John Toulson. There's the axle that came off that car, off the 118 car. They really must stop this race, and indeed the red flag comes out. So with that race stopped in the very early stages, no doubt that will be a restart from great order. So an expensive job for the 118 driver, Fred Miller, as the whole axle assembly off the back of the car has to be removed from the track. I think at this kind of rate, they're going to have to start having a spare stock of axles at Sheffield, because, as I mentioned, Pete Lancaster lost both last time we were here. So we've only just started, 5 minutes maybe from the time that the fanfare started up here at Sheffield, and already we've got a pile-up. Well, this track certainly is getting the reputation as being the one where you do see plenty of action. I don't think I've never seen so much action on a stock car track as I've seen here at Sheffield. So the crowd settles back and wonders what else could happen here at Sheffield. The two cars have been pushed over onto the infield and the race is now ready for a restart. And indeed it is being taken all the way back to graded order. Complete restart to the meeting as the starter regains his position on the rostrum. Wainman at the back is going past the white top novice. Because white tops and black cross are novice drivers and they can take the back position on the grid in their first 3 meetings. And 449 Paget takes that option here at Overton. So the green flag is hidden from the drivers by the yellow as the cars come round. The white top's currently on, just coming into the 4th turn, and there's the green flag to start the race once more. It's 5.36 Bob Baker leading from 4.63 Phil Wright. 3rd place is another white top, but the yellows are closing in already. Ian Higgins, 29, being in 4th place. Dust flying here at Overton. There's been plenty of rain around the area, and I think they've held off watering the track to try and make sure that they don't get bogged down too much when the rain does come. Baker leads from Wright. And 3rd place now is Higgins in car 29. Peter Faulding already up into the top 6 in the blue top 33. So it's 5.36 Bob Baker, the highest numbered car, by the way, in BriSCA Formula 1 racing, who leads. He's from Preston in Lancashire. Peter Faulding already working his way through the field. And they're also chasing as his father, Rod Faulding, and also 4.22 Nigel Wharton. There is the race now for 1st and 2nd. Baker from Higgins. 3rd place is Phil Wright from Widnes in Lancashire. Sound pretty familiar to myself. And Rob Lane just getting edged out by Rod Faulding. 2 cars pile up there, Brian Tuplin and Chris Paxford, it looks like. And so the older Faulding is now hot on the tyre tracks of his son Peter. There's Rod Faulding getting in, stuck in there amongst the backup cars, but now leading. It's car 33. No, indeed, still Bob Baker in 5.36, who leads. The white top car being trailed now by Faulding coming around the turn. There is Rod Faulding in 36, but it's Peter Faulding in 33 who's making the challenge in 2nd place. Wainman's through on the inside of Ian Higgins, so the car 29 challenge fades after a bright start. And now there is Peter Faulding on the inside of Baker and through to 1st place. Oh, and Baker clouds the defence there, and he's got into that 2-car pileup. There was a tremendous crash there as he hit what seems to be a lighting pole and also support on the fence, which now gives Peter Faulding the lead in car 33. And things are settling down now as the whites are just littering the track with debris. 33 Peter Faulding leads. 2nd is 36 Rod Faulding. 3rd place 4.22 Nigel Wharton. Then Frankie Wainman in 2.12. Phil Wright in 4.63. 2.86 John Toulson. 3.95 Mike Shirley. 3.28 Keith Riley. 1.56 Graham Blundell. Those currently are the only cars still in the race. So it's father versus son at the halfway stage of this opening race, heat 1 in the BriSCA Yorkshire Cup. The Rotherham father and son pairing of Peter and Rod Faulding. Peter with something like a 30-40 yard lead over his father. And in 3rd place, Nigel Wharton. 4th is Wainman. 5th is Toulson. 6th is the sole remaining white top, Phil Wright. And then it's Mike Shirley, Graham Blundell, Keith Riley. And then we're back to the race leader. Blue top 33, Peter Faulding. A heat disappointment last time here at Sheffield, but a grand final win for the young man from Rotherham. And indeed, the white top has started up again after pulling out earlier on 4.49, the novice driver of John Paget. Yes, he's certainly learning the art of Formula 1 stock car driving in this opening race. Here at Sheffield, it seems to be just keeping out of the way of trouble. Rod Faulding is not making any real serious impact on his son's lead. Going into the closing stages of the race, the 4-lap marker coming out now for Peter Faulding. Looking now for the gap down to his father, Rod not in shot there as Peter goes around the turn. Now moving in on the tail end to Keith Riley. And it looks to me at the moment as if each car that finishes this race will qualify for the final. I think there might only be one disappointed car. Mike Shirley's slowing down at the moment in 3.95. There's Keith Riley being tailed by Peter Falding. There's second place Rod Falding, third place Nigel Watson, fourth place Frankie Wainman, and down to fifth place, and that's Mike Shirley. He's got the car going again. Shirley having to really send the back car out there to get around the turn. 2 laps to go as Peter Falding goes into the pit turn. Past the tote board here at Oleson. Closing in now on the red top driver Graham Blundell. But the lead is gradually being cut down, but it's a little too late in the race for Father Rod to catch up with Peter there. Peter with now a 20-30 yard lead over Rod, who in turn is having a fine battle with Nigel Watson for that second place. Checker flag now out as the cars come round to complete a marvellous race here at Sheffield. The winner, number 33, Peter Falding. Second place, number 36, Rod Falding. Third place, 422, Nigel Watson. Fifth place, number 212, Frankie Wainman. Sixth place to 395, Mike Shirley. So Peter Falding picks up a heat win to go with that grand final win last time here at Oleton. And I think the major achievement there was not so much just getting a place in the final, but was keeping your car in one piece. Some amazing action there in the opening stages of the race amidst all the white tops, but it was the experienced men, the star drivers, the superstar drivers, who kept the race going. And a blue top, indeed, a grade A driver who won it in the shape of Peter Falding, although he will soon be a superstar when the May gradings are issued on the 1st of the month. Well, the official result of the first race here at Sheffield is as follows. First, number 33, Peter Falding. Second, 36, Rod Falding. Third, 422, Nigel Watson. Fourth, 212, Frankie Wainman. Fifth, 286, John Toulson. Sixth, 156, Graham Blundell. Seventh, 328, Keith Riley. Eighth, 395, Mike Shirley. So Shirley a bit further down the field than I read it. And only one other man, he's a non-qualifier though, finished the race. Ninth place, the white top, 463, Phil Wright. So that's the official result of Heat 1. Only 9 finishes out of all those cars starting. Let's see what happens in Heat 2. Well, indeed, before Heat 2 can get underway, the job is on to get rid of all the debris on the track. And there you can see the 118 car just being lifted off. That's Fred Miller's car from Bolton. And they've got the tractor in desperately trying to get the 118's bodywork free of the 366 car underneath. Obviously, quite a bit of work yet before racing can be restarted here at Oleton. Well, the starter brings out the yellow flag for Heat 2. The track reconstruction work is complete, and we're ready for the second race here in Sheffield. White's going down the back straight. 181 is out there. 181, the car of Walker, just looking for his first name, and that is Gary Walker from Rotherham. Well, Rotherham had a 1-2 in the first race through the Faldings. Green flag's dropped, and one away pulls off. In first place, Rob Walker. Second place, John Richards in car 16. Third is Phil Wheelton in 411. Yes, there's a black cross, white top, actually going in the front of the grid for a change rather than take up a position at the back. So it's 181, Walker who leads, although he's overspun on the turn and is being collected by the second place man. In the meantime, Wheelton's been caught by Bignell, who then takes out 3 more white tops. Walker's just got away. He's about to be headed by Wally Pitman in 434, and the whites get themselves in all kinds of trouble there. And the blues and reds paying the price as well. Dan Clark coming through. Followed off there by 330 Mick Greenwood. 471 Bobby Burns, 199 Mike Close, and that is a real chicane on the 4th turn. So problems there with the whites failing to last the distance. There's the one white that does, the man that started it all with an overslide. Gary Walker in 181 being chased by 45. Alan Scudden, who of course tried to race on the dot track at the last meeting the tough way, going straight over the cables. Indeed only got halfway, but the wheels didn't touch the ground. There's Finnegan going past, followed by Burns. They're well placed at the moment, but there's a pile-up now on the pit turn. Des Chandler's car is in the fence, number 213. Gradually those cars in the other turn have worked themselves out, but now a blockage appears down there. Gary Walker now being challenged by Richard Ainsworth. difficult to say whether Ainsworth has worked his way through or indeed he has been lapped. No, Walton's pushed out, and I would take it now that Scudden is the leader in 45 indeed. There is Scudden. In the meantime, 102's just had a battle with Dave Tapping. 213, or rather Des Chandler. So plenty of problems here for the drivers. The whites are giving everybody very little room to manoeuvre. The reds come through. There is Mike Close working on the pass leader, 181, Gary Walker. In the meantime, Alan Scudden leads in 45. You see the track's already getting pretty rutted as it's taken a fair bit of water from the watering truck. It's quite simply the dust was getting a little high here at Sheffield. 45 then leads. No, indeed, he's got himself into problems, I believe. So this race getting equally as tricky to read as the first one. Neil Cornish is setting up in the fence. There goes Finnegan, followed by Greenwood, Dan Clark and Rob Cowley. And indeed, it looks as if Finnegan could even be the leader. No, Ainsworth's up in front of him, and Ainsworth was well placed early on. It could even be 213 Des Chandler. Ainsworth just caught the back of those cars, and over went 347 as well. He's aiming for a try now on the rugby pitch. 347, just looking down the list, the car of Andy Shaw from Chesterfield. So now the starter's asking for advice from the box as much as myself. This is not an easy one to read here at all. There's plenty of action though, so let's just concentrate on that at the moment and wait for the starter to sort out the leader. I think it could be Finnegan. Indeed it is. Flaggo furled at the 55 car, but Finnegan leads. With Greenwood second, third is Dan Clark. It looks as if the track is getting a fair amount of rutting on it as the cars bounce on it. Finnegan off the turn. Look at the trouble that lurks for him on that fourth bend. Finnegan from Dan Clark, third. Could be John Richards, although it could be Rob Cowley. Well placed is Mike Close. Also Richard Ainsworth and Bobby Burns. Finnegan moving in on the back marker there. Car 52 with a very long cab. Rob Cowley and Mike Close dicing it. And also just behind another red top. And that is the car, I think, of Ainsworth. Indeed it was. Bobby Burns also riding through behind the two of them, waiting for the gap to take off the two reds as they plough their way through the back markers. Dave Wilson in view there, just going around the outside of 139. Stuart Smith, Rob Cowley cutting across the bows. And Richard Ainsworth, who collects the front bumper of Mick Greenwood as he goes into the turn. So now a very, very tricky race. Looks like we're down to about 12 cars at the moment, maybe less. 5 laps to go. Being shown, but the 4-lap marker now being ready and shown to Bert Finnegan in car 55. In the meantime, John Richards dumping a car in the infield. This is Stuart Smith's cars in there, the 139 driver from Chesterfield. Richards slowly getting back into the race. It's getting difficult to see where you're going today, and my goodness, you need to know how or where you're going with all that debris across the track. It's resembling a breaker's yard at the moment here, Overton, with heaps of metal being dumped in various parts of the circuit. 3 laps to go in what has been a near chaotic race. Looks to me as if Finnegan could have been just edged out by Dan Clark. 203, or is he a back marker? It's difficult to tell. Indeed, the 1-lap marker being readied. So we'll soon find out as the cars come off the turn. The last lap marker goes out, and it goes out for Dan Clark. Looks like it's Dan Clark in 203, adjudged to be the leader. Which should make Bert Finnegan second in 55. Although this is one we're going to have to go all the way and wait for the lap scorer's official verdicts. It looks to me as if it could be Clark. The checkered flag comes out. And who's it going to drop on this? On 203 or 55? We'll wait for them to split it. Looks to me like it was Dan Clark in 203. The lap scorers could well mark it for Bert Finnegan. Difficult to see. So, apologies there for difficulty in reading that race. I'm sure you'll understand why. Everything seems to just disappear into pile-up after pile-up. It looks as if Dan Clark, though, got the win in 203. We wait for official confirmation. We'll carry the official qualifiers from Heat 2 as soon as we have the information. Well, Dan, congratulations on that win in Heat 2. Didn't see you quite slip through on Finnegan there. We were watching the 55 car, and then suddenly your car was out there.
Yeah, I think he had something go wrong with his car or something. He just backed up and I slipped through and I didn't see him again. I don't know where he was, whether he was behind me or not.
Still, it was difficult Heat 2, wasn't it? Just like Heat 1, cars piling up everywhere. Those white tops are causing problems, aren't they?
Plus the track is very bumpy again, like it was last time, but yeah, I'll have to adjust the shockers or something, see if we can get over it.
I think you must be glad just to get the car home in one piece after some of these mountaineering jobs that we do.
Yeah, quite right, yeah.
Now, you've got a fairly stylish car there. It looks like it's based on a Vauxhall. Could you tell us a bit more about it, the bodywork at least?
Yeah, the only thing that is Vauxhall on it now is the front grille. The rest of it we sort of made out of sheet and a bit of welding and a bit of panel beating here and there. But we try and make it look as much like a Vauxhall as we could.
On the basis that it is a stock car in that interpretation.
Yeah.
Right, so trying to keep to the old traditions there.
Well, trying to, yeah.
How's the season been going for you? I think that's the first win we've seen you have in front of our cameras.
I'm down to blue the next month, so I don't know.
Bit of work to be done from there on.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
There again, you got the extra few yardage over the red tops to get yourself back in there.
Yeah, but I don't know whether it's best in the blues or the reds. I think I'd sooner be in the reds, actually. At least they seem to know what they're doing a bit more than the ones up front.
It seems very tight on this track, though, doesn't it? If anyone gets into trouble, they're there for everybody else to get into trouble with.
Yeah, it's not a slippy track, but once you do get anywhere once you start sliding, that's it. You're gone then.
Well, best of luck for the final. What do you reckon your chances in that one with the one and only around?
See how it goes.
Best of luck. Thanks very much, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Well, we have no official result from Heat 2, but we do know that Dan Clark did win it. In the meantime, on to Heat 3. And an extra driver to the programme is the biggest one of the lot. Number 1, Stuart Smith, the world champion. We've only caught up with him once so far this season. That was at Coventry. And as you can see, the car doesn't have a sponsor this year. Painted all over gold in the absence of a sponsor. And indeed an advert on the spoiler for the same. So the world champion, Stuart Smith, lines up in Heat 3 here at Sheffield. Tends to pick and choose his meetings these days. In semi-retirement, does have back problems, we do know. As the green flag drops and Heat 3 gets underway. Already some of the tape from the infield is on the track. And cars getting into trouble going into the turn. 83 there, the victim, and that's the car of Stu Matlock from Shepperton in Leicestershire, heads for the safety of the rugby pitch. Secondly down in front of the camera there, 517, the novice driver getting spun out by the 377 car. 377 with Jane Bean. So indeed, it looks like we have a lady driver there, Jane Bean from Stockport in Cheshire. In the meantime, problems for others. Pete Lancaster is that white top car down on the 4th turn with a spun out. At least he's all got 4 wheels, or got all 4 wheels still on the car. Smith looking for a way past Dave Beresford. He's already got past Joe Jopling and John Lund. Vic Milner's car has spun out on one of the turns. And he gets back into the race at the same time. Pete Lancaster's headed for the sanctuary of the infield. Stu Smith now in the middle of the Reds, working his way through past the superstar rated drivers. Such a talented driver, acknowledged as the maestro of Formula 1 stock car racing. Looking now once more at the back of Dave Beresford's car 260. Just in front of them is 304 Dave Mellor. There is the man out in front though. Looks like 429 Phil Hare. They're coming off the 4th bend. And Vic Milner in view. He's back in the race, but way down the field, 62 just behind him. That's the car of Robbie Craig. In the meantime, Smith just past 128, the car of John Wright from Long Eaton. He's following Beresford all the way around as they carve their way through the field, past all the back markers. Beresford, number 3 in last year's National Points Championship. Smith, by the way, was 9th, but a limited number of meetings compared to the rest. He had 35 meetings, for example, against 81 of the National Points champion, Frankie Wademan. Still, that's the task. National Points Championship, get the meetings under your belt. Smith and Smith just cruising around. Although Smith seems to be now putting the bumper in on the 260 car. Problems in front as Nigel Hardy in 317 gets tangled up with one of the whites. The halfway flag has gone out. And indeed Smith and Beresford look like they're on their way to second and third in this heat at the moment. There is the race leader, 429, Phil Hare. A couple of white tops getting themselves into trouble on the outside as he comes through on the inside line. So Hare looking good. It looks like Mick Rogers could be well placed in 244. In the meantime, Beresford could well be filling third with Smith fourth, or it might even be second and third. Dave Mellor a little further down in 304, having been edged out of the way by those two top men. It looks as if this race could have a fascinating battle between Smith and Beresford in the closing stages. Mellor in 304 then, pretty well clear of action at the moment. 429, Phil Hare moving in on the back markers now. Mick Milner right in his way there. Beresford and Smith still having their private battle. Smith looking for the gap, but Beresford's holding on well, and indeed Smith no longer content to ride through on Beresford's rear bumper, now putting in his own front bumper, edging out the man from Hyde, and it's the Rochdale man, Stuart Smith, the world Formula One champion, who looks now to find the gap, but no, Beresford shrugged off the challenge, and the yellows are out, they're being waved, which brings the cars down to single file. No overtaking allowed as the debris is sorted out on the track. So that's Phil Hare, 429. Just behind him, Mick Rogers, 244. Dave Beresford, 260. Stuart Smith, Nigel Hardy, 317, 104. Warren Jackson, 304. Dave Mellor. This is the order that they're actually going round in, although various people may well be marked down the order due to lap scoring. 91, Wilf Warnes, 53, John Lund, 452, Joe Joplin, 136, Dave Taylor, 128, John Wright, 188, Gary Heaton, and 83, Stu Matlock. Those are the cars still in the race. That's the order they find themselves in on the track at the moment, although, as I say, positions may well vary once the lap charts are studied. There is Matlock, had an early spin out while leading, and then had to fight to get back into the race. And indeed, confirmation is there that Beresford is second, Stuart Smith is third, so Mick Rogers is a tail ender. So Hare, then the tail ender, then it's Beresford and Smith second and third. So that should be a fascinating battle. How long before Phil Hare has to give second best to these two top-class Formula One drivers? Dave Beresford in 260 and Stuart Smith in car number 1. Contrast in car styles there between 260 and number 1 cars. Smith with a very large spoiler this year. Somewhat reminiscent of Skull Bandits sprint car style spoiler, and already Mick Rogers is out of the way as Smith and Beresford car through. Hare has got 30 yards as the two top-rated drivers have their own private battle for second place. Nigel Hardy just behind him in 317, waiting to pick up any pieces. Smith, bumper-to-bumper stuff with Beresford, and that's Smith going into the turn. Smith's got the inside line. Hardy's trying to put the bumper in as well. Very impudent drive by the 317 driver, but Smith is through. So now the only victim left for him is Phil Hare, and indeed looks like Hare's pulled out. So Smith leads. Second is Dave Beresford. Third will be Nigel Hardy, and indeed Smith striking just at the right point with the 1 lap marker coming out. The checkered flag is readied for the world champion, the maestro, the one and only. Those are all various things that have appeared on the car. Stuart Smith, the world champion, wins seat 3 here at Sheffield. Second 260, Dave Beresford. So an intriguing clash there between two top-class Formula One stock car drivers, but it's the world champion Stuart Smith who comes out with the victory, with Dave Beresford second, 260, and I think Phil Hare getting out of the way rather swiftly before those two cars came in and put him in real trouble. Well, let's take a look at the official result then of Heat 3. First, number 1, Stuart Smith. Second, 260, Dave Beresford. Third place, number 317, Nigel Hardy. Fourth place, 104, Warren Jackson. Then 304, Dave Mellor. 429, Phil Hare. 91, Wilf Warnes. And 53, John Lund. And 9th and 10th, 4.52 Joe Jopling, and 10th was 1.36 Dave Taylor. So that's the official result of Heat 3. And now we have the cars coming round on the rolling lap for the Consolation race, and judging by Heats 1 and 2, this is going to be chaotic because we have got a field of which over 50% are represented by whites and yellows, as is often the case in Consolation racing. And here at Sheffield, that spells danger. Yes, it's not red for danger, it's white and yellow, certainly white. Yes, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11 white tops, 6, 7, 8, 9 yellows, 10 yellows. In fact, Gary Heap's already given up the ghost before the green flag drops. And the race is underway. Well, so far so good. The track's taken a lot of water. It's been heavily watered here this afternoon. And one car's pulled out from the yellows, but coming back onto the track. So far so good. Yet to have any pileups. 102's pulled out of the race. That's the car of Colin Baldry from Gould. And so the cars come down the home straight. Going into the turn. Cars snaking a little, and they're certainly getting well covered with mothers. That car spins out. And through goes 463 Phil Wright from Witness, capitalising on that car's problems as it spun out, going into the turn. Wright's carved his way through, and there's the first of the problems. Someone's collected one of the tractor tyres on the centre green. Looks like car 52, which is Craig Hayworth from Rochdale. Of course, 1 or 2 of the Rochdale drivers are here this afternoon because this should have been a Rochdale meeting, but for various off-track problems. Instead, the Sheffield date was switched to cover for the absence of Rochdale. Car there testing out the safety fence. It's Gary Heap of 188 who leads as 463 Phil Wright tests out the safety fence. There is the leader going down the back straight. Moving in now on Dave Taylor's car, 136 Blue Top. Gary Heap treading very carefully going into the turn. There's one car abandoned there, and 2 on the inside. So not a time to take chances. Des Chandler's going the wrong way down the home straight, with the cab leading, causing a few problems for the other cars. Finally finds his way onto the infield. Chandler spins back into the race, but he's not getting away too fast, finding it difficult to find grip. In the meantime, Gary Heap now being trailed by another yellow. As they come off the turn, it looks like it's Alan Scudden in 45. Phil Wilson's just behind in 411. Then 347. 347, the car of Andy Shaw. In the meantime, the red tops in this race beginning to make their mark. Jopling going through, a very muddy Ainsworth car just behind him. Des Chandler getting involved in the thick of the action again, trying out the safety fence. Ainsworth now is heading for the sanctuary of the rugby pictures. Joe Jopling piles up with Des Chandler. He's collected Phil Bicknell. And the mayhem a little delayed here in the Consolation race, but it's coming now after all. Yellow flags come out, a complete pile-up on that turn. Gary Heap still the leader in the 188 car, keeping out of trouble. Although it's not so much a matter of keeping out of trouble, but hoping that trouble does not come looking for you here in the Consolation race here at Overton. Heap finds a gap through. Indeed, with the yellows steady as he can still overtake, they just have to show caution. It's only when they start waving the yellow flags that they've got to stay in single file. So it's Gary Heap first, another spin out on the turn. Phil Wilson has second place. Neil Picorni going past behind the spoiler. There's Heap. Dave Taylor as a back marker. Second is 411. Phil Wilson just going past. Wilson in the March Bodies team car 411. You can always spot them because they put a yellow stripe through the number. They mainly cover white tops. There you can see that car. You might just be able to make out the yellow stripe through the number. Heap being pressurized by the tail ender. Dave Taylor has been lapped in this race, but is still trying to exert an influence. Heap goes goes past the tote board, and that 136 car of Taylor's protecting him from Wheelton. We've yet to see any real impact by the Reds, who are on their way out of the main meeting, the BriSCA Yorkshire Cup here. Their only chance will be the Grand National. Ainsworth is out. He's one that's not going to be in the final, so a blow for him not picking up too many points here today. There is the race leader, settled down after those momentary laps of chaos. And on that subject, by the way, Ian Higgins is still in the race at 29. Gary Heap closing in now the car of Jeff Nichols. There's Willie Harrison. I think he's the last remaining red top in this race. No, indeed, Joe Joplin's still going, but Willie Harrison, the man who was out of the sport last year due to a mild heart attack, good to see him back racing. A veteran racer all those years before a world title win, but then finally got it amidst ecstatic scenes a couple of years back. Willie Harrison, number 2 driver in BriSCA Formula 1 racing terms, and in overall years, one of the all-time greats. Gary Heap still surviving out in front in the yellow top 188 car. Not an unusual sight to see Heap going well. We've seen him a couple of times showing up well here on Screen Sport. There's Heap going into the bend. Willie Harrison looks like it's second. The starter is having problems. He's just getting covered in dirt indeed. Gary Heap's locked up and Harrison goes through. Pending consultation on the lap charts, it looks like Willie Harrison will be declared the leader. We're waiting for the starter to confirm it. There's someone getting out of the car. Looks like it could be Chris Maxford, the 459 driver. Joe Jopling showing up well. The 3-lap marker is out at the moment, and the 2-lap marker is now being readied, and it's for, looks like it's for Joe Jopling in 452. Dave Taylor lapped early on, is in problems now. It looks like that 2-lap marker was shown to Jopling, although this very much will depend on lap charts. I'm sure that the race result will be discussed at length after the race, because there's been quite a few confusing points in it. Gary Heap seems to be the leader most of the way. Heap now getting back into the race after another pile-up, but he's lost placings. 1 lap to go. Jopling definitely been given the signs. It looks as if that is official now, with the starter having contact with the lap scorers, looking a little bit more positive, and so able to give us all the indication. It's a win for Joe Jopling in 452. Jopling wins in 452. Second place looks like quite a choice. It could be Tuplin, it could indeed be Willie Harrison. We'll wait for the lap scores to decide on that one. The winner, though, 452, Joe Jopling. Well, it is proving to be a difficult day, because the lap scorers, 3 of them have been in conference up in the box, and the following official result has been declared from the Formula 1 Consolation, and it contains 1 or 2 surprises, not only to us but also to the drivers concerned. First place, 155, Brian Tuplin. Second place, 347, Andy Shaw. Third place, Gary Heap in 188. Fourth, Dave Taylor, 136. Fifth, 29, Ian Higgins. Yes, you know that there's 1 number missing here, isn't there? Sixth place, number 2, Willie Harrison. Seventh place was number 57, Rob Lane. Eighth place was number 64, Ken Hopes from Huddersfield. Ninth was 452, Joe Jopling. And 10th was 103, Roger Mitchell. In the meantime, that is the official result. We'll leave everybody else to do the shouting, and there has been 1 or 2 bouts of that around the track as that result was given out. But that is the official verdict on consultation of the lap charts. The suspicion is that 2 laps were missed out of Joe Jopling's scoring. To me, actually, at one point, it did seem as if he'd been out of the race and then suddenly came back. There again, a race like that, who would like to be certain? And there is Brian Tuplin himself lining up for the grand final. 20 heat race, as usual, here at Sheffield, with the qualifiers from the heats and the Consolation all lining up now in the grand final. 25 points at stake in the chase for the National Points Championship. Double points from the heats, of course, +1 for the winner. 12 double up to 24, +1 to make 25. Nigel Hardy had 3rd place in that Consolation, alongside Dave Mellor, Willie Harrison and Graham Blundell. And amidst the Reds, 422 Nigel Wharton there as well. In the meantime, leading them off, 429 Phil Hare and 181 Gary Walker. The only two white tops to make it. We haven't had too many yellows either amidst all those chaotic scenes earlier on. It's just Gary Heath and Ian Higgins in 29 lining up in the final. So it's virtually a blue and red top race. I can't think of many reds here today that haven't in fact made it through to the final. Although Joe Jopling will be one of those. I don't think anybody else missed out though as the race gets underway. The green flag has dropped on the two white tops, and it's Phil Hare who leads from Gary Walker, Ian Higgins, Gary Heath, 33 folding, 104 Warren Jackson, and 328 Keith Riley. We've got a spin over on the turn. John Toulson getting stuck in there with Rod folding. Car's just about staying on four wheels, plus one tractor wheel underneath as well. 471 Bobby Burns vying there with Dave Beresford, but the 260 car is already away. Stuart Smith is putting in the bumper at the moment on Frankie Waveman. There you see them, the gold and silver. Smith is through past Dave Taylor, and Waveman getting bumped along the way. In the meantime, Beresford getting a side clout from Dave Taylor, just came off the centre green, then he's been hit again. Gary Heath pulling up by the fence. Peter Folding now piling his way through into third place in the blue top 33 car. There is the race for second. Gary Walker just holding out Folding. It's Phil Hare in 429 leading. And Walker finally falling victim to the Rotherham driver. But no, the waving yellows have come out just as Folding was about to strike. He must remain in single file. At the same time, though, Bert Finnegan and Stuart Smith had a battle on the infield, or on the track, and Finnegan ends up on the infield while the yellows were being waved. Stuart Smith's onto the infield as well. Well, now, those flags came out and they were waved, which means slow down, remain in single file, do not overtake. And at that point, cars were spinning each other out on the home straight. And certainly Bert Finnegan received a shunt from somewhere. And I think Stuart Smith also had a broadside clout from somewhere. He's trying to get back into the race. So now, interesting situation as the race is about to be restarted. The red lights and the red flag were shown, so the race is being stopped completely. Stuart Smith's getting out of the car. Don't think he's too happy about things. He's looking down at the sponsorless vehicle. I wonder what his verdict would be on that incident. Anyway, we sit back now and wait to see indeed what does happen. Stuart Smith appears to have flat tyres on the front axle, looking down at the wheel. And that could well have been what happened there with Finnegan having to head for the centre green to avoid the flailing Smith machine. Let's hope that we see the world champion out anyway for the second attempt at the grand final for the BriSCA Yorkshire Cup here at Sheffield. In the meantime, there's also repair work to be done on the fence. The track staff are out there just in front of those banners attending to the cables. As you can see, the fence has come apart down on the first turn after the Gary Heap 188 car went into it. They were saying here at Sheffield that they're going to have to redesign the fence and re-strengthen it because they're going to try and put a deflecting fence in when the lights are changed here at Sheffield over to the official lighting system approved by the Speedway Board, because they have to be 2 meters away from the safety fence. At the same time, Sheffield Stadium are going to rebuild the stock car fence and putting in a Bellevue-style deflecting fence. In the meantime, though, they have to make do with what they have, and the speed of Formula One cars now, they leave very little margin for error with stock car safety fence manufacture. Starter now organises the cars. The fence is fixed, and so is the Stuart Smith car. Stuart Smith's car now back in the race. The car is ready and the fence is also fixed, so the race is ready to get back underway. Smith on the inside of Bert Finnegan as the cars come round on the rolling lap. Starter with the flags ready, green flag behind the yellow. Hiding the green from the drivers as they come round. Those will be the leading cars as the flag is dropped. I can see a few cars still abandoned from the original staging. Both the yellow tops, Gary Heap and Ian Higgins, are parked on the third and fourth turns. Mike Shirley's car is parked on the back straight, 395. So it's two whites leading off a whole load of blues and reds. No yellows now with the two yellow cars having been abandoned. Phil Hare leads. Gary Walker second in 181. Peter Folding third. Keith Riding fourth. Fifth is Will Fawns. Brian Suppling, Dave Tapping and Rob Cowley all piling up on the fourth turn. Right, coming down the back straight, the two white tops. Coming down the home straight, rather. Hare leading from Walker. Oh, Peter Folding spun on the turn, and he has mounted the fence. That's the Folding car just climbing down. So he's lost his third place and lost his chance in this grand final as the cars stream past, desperately trying to get out of the way. In the meantime, now it looks like it's Father Rob that's taken the charge. No, it's Nigel Wharton. Both all over red cars. Stuart Smith getting a rough ride. Dave Beresford trying to get revenge for that earlier defeat by Smith. And Peter Folding just a spectator on the outside of the turn as Brian Tuplin locks up with him. Stu Smith now looking for the way past John Toulson's car, 286. John Lund's just out in front of Now Wharton has gone past the two white tops, but we feel that he might have spun out earlier on, might be a lap behind. We're waiting for starters confirmation. This is not an easy day here at Sheffield. Two white tops there, Hare and Walker. We're still waiting for confirmation as to whether Wharton had spun out and lost a lap earlier on. Stuart Smith's out of the race. He spun out trying to get back in. He's let all the blues go through. Graham Blundell's car abandoned on the outside of the turn. Phil Hare confirms the leader in 429. Although it looks as if the lead has changed. Wharton indeed a lap behind and even further down now, just in front of Stuart Smith. In the midst of all that, Dave Mellor has come through to take the lead. Willie Harrison's getting a battering on the home straight. Stuart Smith and Nigel Wharton having their own private battle. And there's the Harrison car just pulling off onto the infield. Yes, the bonnet cover almost flew off that car as he was rammed into the fence. Dave Mellor leads in 304. Had a fairly quiet day so far. I haven't seen too much of the 304 car. Finished fifth in Heat 3. But now heading the field in the grand finals. Stu Smith and Nigel Wharton still having a fine battle. Dave Taylor now getting involved in the blue top 136 car. Smith putting the bumper in, trying to work his way back through the field. In the meantime, Phil Hare's pulled out. He's parked alongside the Willie Harrison car. And Smith finally heading off the challenge of Nigel Wharton, now looking for his next victim, and that will be Bert Finnegan, who's about 40 yards clear. Wharton trying to retaliate, but it looks like that battle's over. Meanwhile, back in first place is Dave Mellor, 304, going past Dave Taylor. Now looking for another blue top. It looks like the Keith Riding car, yes, 328. The halfway stage of the race, Mellor leads. Looking for second. That could be the 181 car of Walker, although Nigel Hardy's up well. Rod Fowling, Bobby Burns, Frankie Wayman, Mike Close, John Lund, Dave Beresford, John Toulson, Bert Finnegan, and then down to Stuart Smith and Nigel Wharton. And they're almost to the point where they will be lapped by Dave Mellor. Mellor more than 3/4 of a lap in front of those. Close and Wayman rather having a battle there. Past the 181 car of Walker, who's now just dropping further and further behind. So Mellor leads in 304. And that is the race for 5th and 6th. The race for 2nd, 3rd and 4th is between Hardy, Folding and Burns, which Burns is looking likely to win. And Mellor in the meantime leads. That's the race for 5th and 6th. Or they can call that 4th, 5th and 6th. Now is Rod Folding getting involved. Wayman in the sandwich there with Mike Close. Looks like the cars are locked together, and Willie Harrison's car takes another battering. Willie's already clear. So now, with Mellor clear, he's got two blue tops behind him. They look like they've been lapped. Certainly Keith Riley has been. Bobby Burns in 471 is battling for what looks like second place with Graham Blundell. And there indeed is Burns. in the 471 car. Looks like he is second place. Third place is Graham Blundell, fourth John Lund, fifth Dave Beresford, sixth John Toulson, and seventh Stuart Smith, eighth Nigel Wharton. So there indeed is Smith, although he could be a lap down, although I think he was, and he's worked his way back. 4 laps mark are now being shown to Dave Mellor. Mellor from Ashbourne in Derbyshire, car number 304, that Ford-engine tank they call it. Mellor leads, he's just lapped Mike Close. Keith Riley spins out. Second place man is Bobby Burns. Third Nigel Hardy. And fourth John Lund. So it's red tops pretty well through there. But what about the gold? Just gold top this year. Gold car all over. Stuart Smith. 2 laps and just a little bit more remaining now. Dave Mellor looking pretty safe. Mellor leads, and as I said, he was just passing the starter. Now Burns has just passed him, so it's a long gap. Dave Beresford a good way down the field, 5th or 6th, indeed 5th place. Toulson 6th, and there is Stu Smith in 7th. Wharton trying to start the fighting again with Smith, but we're coming into the closing stages now. The checkered flag being readied for the man in the 304 car, Dave Mellor. And indeed, the checkered flag now up in the air as Mellor comes round off the turn, comes in for the win, acknowledges the crowd. The winner, number 304, Dave Mellor. Second place, by my own reckoning, goes to 471, Bobby Burns. Third place, Nigel Hardy, 317, with fourth, looks like going to John Lund, and Stuart Smith staying in 7th place, I think they're at the end, maybe 6th behind Dave Beresford. Waiting for the official result, of course, of the grand final. But in the midst of all that, it was a win for 304 Dave Mellor, with 471 Bobby Burns carving his way through the field for second place, but just could not get through the field in time to mount a challenge on Dave Mellor's car. Bobby Burns from London, one of the men who has to do a tremendous amount of mileage in Bristol Formula 1 racing, and all the tracks being north of Northampton these days. Picks up a second place here at Sheffield behind Dave Mellor. The official result then of a fairly straightforward grand final. The winner, 304 Dave Mellor. Second place, 471 Bobby Burns. Third, Nigel Hardy, 317. Fourth, number 53 John Lund. Then 260 Dave Beresford. Number 1 Stuart Smith in 6th place. 7th John Toulson, 286. 8th place, number 136 Dave Taylor. Then 422 Nigel Wharton. And just creeping in 10th place, number 212 Frankie Wainman. So the world champion beaten there in the grand final, relegated to 6th place, but a good win for Dave Mellor in number 304. Well, the cars are being marshalled now for the final race of the day, which of course is the Grand National qualifying race, and the final of this set for Rochdale later in the year. Although in the light of current events, one wonders whether it indeed will be. Let's hope it will be, because the news is at the moment that there will be no BriSCA racing at Rochdale for the time being. Let's hope that that is resolved pretty fast. Blue tops coming down now past the starter. Looks as if the world champion has given this one a miss. No sign of Mr. Smith. Dave Mellor, of course, on the 1-lap handicap in the front of the field, but we may not have the world champion, but we have the national points champion, Frankie Wainman. And on the outside, Mike Close. Just in front of them, Dave Beresford and Bobby Burns. And at the back, John Lund, number 53. He's got all the work to do at the back of the field. But indeed, technically, he's not at the back of the field, because, of course, Mellor is. He's on the 1-lap handicap. The White's just edging up behind him. No chance to get back in the meeting after crashing out during the Consolation race. And away from the start. John Richards trying to force away under Mellor, but Mellor's away. Richards first. And problems down on the 3rd and 4th turn already. Cars piling up there. John Lund taking a good 20 yards off the inside of the rugby pitch there in 53. Well, pilot like that gives Miller the chance to get on terms with some of the other drivers. He's almost up with one of the blue tops, Keith Riley's crashed on the home straight. You'll see him in the background there in the blue 328. Peter Folding, can he make up for the disappointments of earlier on today? Had a heat win first time out, but problems in his final, or in the final rather, when he piled up while third. Once more, plenty of white tops to watch out for here. If you're one of the blues and you're rather worried, make sure that you don't get taken out to the fence by one of these, or they don't all lock up in front of you. There's one part in by the fence. That's 103. Looking down the list, that's Roger Mitchell from Colne in Lancashire. Mike Close, it looks like, has spun out. Frankie Wayman working through the field. And at the moment, we're looking at John Richards as race leader, car number 16, the white top. The yellows are out here at Sheffield, and car onto the infield. 155, Brian Sumner, the Consolation race winner. Nigel Wharton just behind him. There is Richards, race leader in number 16, closing in on the other white top, 312. That's the car of Peter Lancaster. Mellor. Now he's finally caught up with the Reds. Wayman spun out, so that's another place. Mellor's move up. We don't often see a man take a final win and a Grand National, but Mellor already in with the main bulk of the Reds. It's John Richards leading in car number 16. Indeed, there is the race leader going down the back straight. Bobby Burns, the lap behind, carving his way through past Richards. Burns with a fair bit of work to do to get back in the race. Richards still holding on. Looks as if Peter Folding's in a strong position. As Richards goes into the turn, Folding's not too far back. It looks like 34. Brown is second. Stu Gray just behind him. Don't know if he's been lapped, but the yellows now being waved. Problems with the track. Driver up on the tractor. Well, cars have been abandoned all over the track. It looks as if these cars now are going to have to maintain single file for a short while we sort out what is going on here. It looks as if the car parks over by the turn. I'm not sure if that's Finnegan or Close. It's difficult to see from a long distance whether that's the car, or indeed there is a problem right on the outside. 536 is out there, Bob Baker, and 74 Neil Picorni. It looks like the drivers just had to be removed from the car. Earlier on today, by the way, when 463 was abandoned, the white top car, looks as if Phil Wright had a suspected broken arm when he was led away from the car, so looks like they're all right in this case. So Baker on the left and Picorni on the right seem okay after that crash right down by the pit gate. So the cars slow down as the race is brought to a halt. So now it looks like we're down to about half of the starting field, and then maybe a little bit more than that. John Richards on the back straight leads off car 34, Mal Brown from Liversedge in West Yorkshire. Richards, by the way, is from Raystrick, West Yorkshire, which does remind you of a certain band that once rose to fame briefly, at least in the pop world. Well respected brass band circles, of course, to bring us a Raystrick, and John Richards, one of the towns in that title, Raystrick in West Yorkshire. The Yorkshiremen doing well here because that's man from Liversedge in second place, Mal Brown. Third place is Peter Folding from Rotherham. So it's a good day for the White Rose here in the Grand National final, or Grand National rather qualifying race. Richards coming under heavy pressure from Mal Brown. Haven't seen too much of him on Screen Sport. Nigel Hardy just holding up a challenge for Frankie Wayman and Stu Gray. Now the victim, those two are coming through. They could well be in a strong position soon. Stu Gray just pushed straight into the boards up there on the turn. So it looks as if there could be a strong Waveman challenge in this Grand National race. Indeed, first is John Richards, second Mal Brown, third Peter Folding, fourth is Nigel Wharton, fifth is Nigel Hardy, sixth is Frankie Waveman, seventh John Lund, and eighth Dave Mellor. So Mellor's up into the major points on the one-lap handicap. And I wouldn't write off the chances of Mellor coming all the way through for a win in the final and the Grand National. There we have the aerial view of them coming down the straight. Brown is past Richards, Richards being edged out of the way. Brown first, and Wharton's been spun out on the pit turn. Richards is second. No, Hardy's now taken it. John Lund indeed coming through. Dave Mellor is right up into fourth place, I think, now. But Mellor's got wheel problems. He's worked all the way up into fourth place, now is ruled out by a defective wheel. Frankie Waveman goes through, and the challenge is over from Dave Mellor. Now, all the way through in the first place is John Lund. Lund leads. No, Mal Brown is still there in 34. Indeed, Mal Brown the leader with the closing stages of the race coming up. We haven't seen Brown win a race as far as I can remember here on Screen Sport. He's been on the tracks away from our circuit so far. Mal Brown 34 leads, second is John Lund 53, third is 33 Peter Folding with just 2 laps remaining. Then Bobby Burns, Frankie Waveman, Dan Clark and the 216 yellow top of Graham France. Well, it does look like a clear win now for Mal Brown. 1 lap to go for him. He's straight ahead of the rest. Dave Mellor's car parked out by the fence. John Lund has just got too far to go to try and catch Mal Brown. The checkered flag is up, and the 34 car comes home for the victory as he comes off the turn. Yes, indeed, there he goes. 34 Mal Brown, the winner. Second place, 53 John Lund. Third place, 33 Peter Folding. 471 Bobby Burns. 212 Frankie Waveman. This is the unofficial finishing order. 104 Warren Jackson, and 203 Dan Clark, it looks like, in the other minor positions. So Mal Brown, the surprise winner of the Grand National qualifying race here at Sheffield, winning in the blue top car and holding out no less than Peter Folding, also in the blues, and of course Folding, virtual superstar status, or at least will be when the May gradings are published. And so it's been a most entertaining and interesting day here with John Lund, the man heading the points chart after the opening meetings here, or rather in the world of BriSCA Formula 1 racing, relegated to second place there in the Grand National qualifying race. An excellent win for car number 34, Mal Brown, and Mal, of course, from Liversedge in West Yorkshire, and 1 or 2 drivers from that town showing up very well here in Sheffield in the final race.
Before the race, we received 34 Mal Brown with a few more points this next afternoon, and then it goes out and wins the last race of the afternoon. A very good drive there from 34 Mal Brown.
In the meantime, Dave Mellor gets up the bonnet, and we get a view of that big Ford block he's got in that car. A lot of people say that he should be switching away to one of the more popular Chevy or Buick engines, but he sticks with his Ford. Although it wasn't the engine that time that let him down, it was the rear wheel. After working all the way up through to 4th place after the 1 lap handicap, a great disappointment. Stood a chance there of picking up the maximum 32 points, the most you can ever get from winning a race in ordinary circumstances. Of course, 16 for a win, doubled up if you're on the 1 lap handicap. But in the end, it was Mal Brown that got the points, and I think looking down the results today, I think Brown must have come through indeed in Heat 2 to qualify. No, indeed, he may not have even qualified at all, because of course that was the Grand National. Anyway, Brown wins. And looking at the result, Mal Brown first, second 53 John Lund, third 33 Peter Folding, fourth 471 Bobby Burns, then 212 Frankie Wainman, 104 pardon me, Warren Jackson, and 203 Dan Clark. That result unofficial, but I don't expect that one to vary too much from the lap scorers, maybe in a couple of minor placings. The winner then of the Grand National, 34 Mal Brown, but it's been quite a day's racing once more here at Sheffield.
Well, that's it, another entertaining day's racing here at Sheffield. Plenty of action and cars